So this my off day, but God and my spirit family are asking me to invite you into my conversation that I'm having this morning. So I'm reading this book that I had. It's called Rich as Fuck. And I have not been in this book for quite some time. I started reading it and then I went off into other things. But as I jump right in on page 35, that's how mind blowing this book is because I only was able to get to page 35 before that shit sent me. But anyway, so I highlighted as we work through, process, recategorize, and assign new meaning to our past memories and experiences, we are able to release them. And that's healing. That's what I've been doing. I've been combing through the files of my mind. You know, our cells, we have like 37 trillion cells in our body and they hold account for everything, okay? So if you wondering how these memories coming up from, whew, child, I didn't even remember that. It's in there, okay? Our own Akashic records is in there. So that's healing trauma is recategorizing it. You know, once you go through the trauma itself, like literally walking through what you experienced, speaking out your emotions and how things made you feel and your truth, okay? And sometimes it takes a little bit to get to your truth because our truth has been defined for us on so many levels that we have to go through everybody else's truths within our mind before we get to how we really feel about it. So that's why healing I see is like the spiral. It's like you keep, well, my friend said up. So it's like you doing it, but for me, it's like you going deeper within yourself. That's the vision I have. Like I have my first layer, my second layer, third, fourth, fifth, and such. So it's like going in and seeing those situations for what they were. You know, of course, holding yourself accountable, but really looking at how you were done wrong by people. And then you feel like you allowed it when you really, from my perspective, you just didn't know any better. And so this is an opportunity to go back and look at those situations because patterns formed from those things, from those experiences. And so when the patterns form, they continue to evolve with us as we grew. For me, people pleasing. So you go back and look at the situation and you say, dang, I was really caring too much about people. It wasn't being reciprocated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, how is that showing up in my life right now? And so what I do now is I've created a whole new system of how I deal with things like conflict and I created boundaries, you know what I mean? And I enforce them and everything. So that's what healing trauma is for me. It's recategorizing those things, going through, feeling that pain again, unfortunately, and that hurt, but in real time now, because you see it for what it really was. You know, when we were in it, we couldn't comprehend it. Like I was watching on Quiet on the Set, and Drake was talking about his experiences, and I was just thinking about him being 15 and being very much mishandled by these adults, but that one in particular. And it's just like you don't even know how to take things like that in, because every opportunity was there for this man to be able to abuse him. And so at some point your mind convinces you this must be it. Though you don't feel good, you don't know how to define it when you haven't experienced something. Well, it's like your first time experiencing that. You don't know how to define it. So now we're going back and defining those things that happen to us. The sexual abuse. Like really understand, especially when you have kids. After you have kids, it gives you a whole different meaning to looking at your past experiences, because you detach. So the next thing I say is the past only has the power over you that you give it. Furthermore, those things are wildly insignificant because of this truth. You are worthy. You are worthy because you are. Okay? And so I thought, after reading this, I said, consciously, my past traumatic experiences did not harm me because I went on to do great. I was like, because that little girl I was on Holbrook Street. And then I realized I had detached from myself. Because of the bad experiences that I had in my childhood, my teenage years, my young adult years, because I moved to Georgia after I turned 30, I had detached from myself. Like I had connected myself with the people, places, and things that hurt me. And I was just running, trying to run from Holbrook Street. Like, I can't wait to get away from here because I wanted to see other things. And I just always felt like I was home. Other than going to school, all I was doing was like being outside, right? And I was bored. Just as a child, I was bored. I was interested in more, which fast forward, I had my kids, we stayed out in the streets all the time. I entertain them little niggas all the time because I'm like, let's live, let's get out, let's do some things, because my mother was doing her thing and, my grandmother was at the house. So great neighborhood, love everybody. But I was bored. I wanted to see more. But what I did was I defined my worth, it looks like, in the physical, the conscious. I detached from me when I should have detached from the people, places, and things that hurt me. My worth is inside of me and how I feel about myself. And it was being defined externally because I just had so much regret for my childhood and living in poverty and stuff. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just speaking my truth. I just had so much disdain for certain parts of my life because it just wasn't enough money. If I come down to it, it wasn't enough money for us to be able to do the things and live life, the way I was able to learn how to do it later through a corporate career and all of this stuff. But I needed to define within myself that I was enough. Because people around you gonna always talk shit. They're gonna always have something to say because, especially where I grew up, because it's the crabs in the barrel mentality. If you point the finger, you see some fault in me, somehow it lifts you up mentally. Well, at least I ain't that bad. You know what I'm saying? So,